Welcome to Reader's Corner. I'm Elizabeth.
I'm Tess.
And today we are going to be talking about Into the Drowning Deep by Mira Grant. So in Reader's Corner, every month we have a book discussion, and books are chosen based on availability and staff preference. So this is on Hoopla. So if you want, you can pause our video, go to Hoopla, read really fast, and then come back to hear our fascinating thoughts on this fun book. Because we do have fascinating thoughts. We both have different thoughts, which is even more fun for you as a viewer. You're welcome to join in, ask questions, or express any views you may already have on this book in the comments.
I would love to see those comments.
I would really love to see those, actually. Please comment, please. It doesn't even have to be about the book. It can be about mermaids, because the book today is about mermaids, and I feel like we all have some feelings about mermaids and or the Disney movie and or something. Just the ocean. You can even just comment and say, I like the ocean. I'll take it, by all means. Yeah. It's a pretty, this is an adult dark fantasy though, for the genre. So it's not like your shiny, happy mermaids.
Definitely not.
What are some of the requirements for that genre?
I would say, it is fantastical. It has mythical creatures in it. It is dark because these creatures are out of a horror film. They are not nice mermaids.
Not at all.
It's adult because, the horror aspects, but also there are some adult themes, adult relationships, language, etc.
You know, careers, sexy times, paying taxes, all of those adult things that you have to do. I don't think there's taxes in the book though. So it's kind of cool. We get a book, for this book, it's got a lot of scientists as the main characters. So Into the Drowning Deep, the basic summary is years before this book started, and it turns out this is a small prequel novella, but you don't have to read it. There was a ship that drowned under mysterious circumstances, and when the footage was released, it was mermaids that took the ship out. Then years later, they find enough evidence to send out another expedition to look at the mermaids. So there's a scientist, there's a video person from the Disney Light Company that arranged the first expedition. There's some hunters. There's all sorts of people, sign language experts, going on this adventure to the Marianas Trench to see if they can explore and try to find out either more about the mermaids or more about what happened. Unfortunately, they get to find out about both because it's going to happen to them. The author bio, Mira Grant, is also known as Shauna McGuire. So I had read her books before as Shauna McGuire. She does not write dark fantasy in that guise. Mira Grant she writes horror movies, horror novels, a lot of that sort of thing. Her new / novels have been nominated for Hugo Awards, as well as Countdown and Parasite, which are in similar series. And Shauna McGuire, meanwhile, is over here with other books that have been nominated for the Hugo, but it's stuff like Every Heart a Doorway, which is regular fantasy and has this theme of hope and things are going to be okay. And Middle Game, which is sort of sci-fi-ish, but it focuses on a pair of siblings and their relationship. So
I like that she keeps one side of herself one way and then writes another way.
It's really useful, right? Because then if you only like one of those things, you don't have to roll the dice every time you pick up a Shauna McGuire book. You can be like, yes, this. Or a Mira Grant book, you can be like, yes, this. And so it's good because it's those two separate spheres.
I like that. It's cool.
This is the first book of hers you'd read, right?
Yes, I have not read anything by her or her pseudonym. So first experience was interesting.
Interesting, that's the word. See, here's where it gets fun, dear viewers, because the social media reviews of this book are 4.4 stars, 4 stars, 4.5 stars, all of them very high. And I liked it and Tess didn't. And maybe that's partially because we'd read her work before. Maybe it's because I watched terrible movies as a kid and it corroded my taste. We're just not sure, but that's what you're here to find out.
Yeah, cheesy horror things are not really for me. And
not your style?
But I like the idea of the mermaids being the original myth. They were not the Disney, they were...
There's arguably singing, but it is not a good time. That is not a good noise that you want to hear. Yeah, I liked that a lot too. there's definitely in mythology, right? There are so many versions of the murderous mermaids up until Hans Christian Andersen was like, we're going to make it a love story. Before that, there were a lot of like, they're going to drown you and eat you. And we are back to drowning and eating in this one. And it took it a step further. These things are not human, decidedly not human, which is, I enjoyed a lot. Like, they were kind of exploring what the mermaids were. They ended up settling on amphibians, which was fun, did not expect. And that was just really fun to see because I'm a mythology nerd and I like mermaids, and reading about mermaids who want to kill me is amazing. And I'm like, yes, thank you. Like, let's have a little piece for our mythology, perhaps.
Yeah, I liked the mythology aspects for sure. And she did a lot of research. There was a lot of information in there that was interesting to learn about. Not only about mermaids, but just like there was a lot of info there. Deaf information, like what a deaf experience is like, a lot of sciencey stuff. So
yeah, so much sciencey stuff. I liked the sciencey stuff, but at times I was sitting there going, is this real sciencey stuff or is this like fake sciencey stuff? And I was like, I don't know. I'm just here for the ride. Absolutely, I believe you.
Yeah, because some parts of it I was like, oh yeah, I know that's true. And other parts I was like, is that true? I don't know. Sounds far-fetched.
Sounds fun. Sounds maybe fun, maybe suspect. I feel like that's a common thing with a lot of like this particular genre of like the sci-fi, where it's sci-fi horror-ish, or it made me think of a sci-fi B movie the whole time, because that's where you get the cheesy, over-the-top sci-fi. And there's a lot of like, is this science? Is it not? We just don't know in those. And so that's what I was thinking of while I was reading. You mentioned the deaf characters, though. I really liked how many diverse characters were in this book. That was really cool.
Yeah.
Because there were those deaf characters, and you actually speak ASL, right? So like, was that accurate, the kind of way they portrayed it?
No, yes and no. So I really like that Mira Grant put in the very beginning that ASL has its own grammar and she can't use that grammar because it would be very confusing to English readers. So if you were to say, what time is it in English, in ASL, you would say time what? So if it was constantly like that, you as a reader, you'd be like, I don't understand what they're saying. Unless you knew ASL, which a lot of people reading it won't know. So she had to rewrite it as English, but she stated that she had to do that. So I appreciated that. But everything else about those characters was accurate. The way they felt about being deaf and being in a job like that, and all the obstacles that they had to go through in their lives because they were deaf, I've rung true.
I enjoyed that. So the deaf characters, for those watching, are these two sisters who come on the boat, and they're twins, but they don't fall into the twin trap of being like, ta-da, it's the same person, which some books do. They are very different. They have different personalities. One is interested in lab work and consistently gets ignored by her lab mates because they don't speak ASL, so they're just like, which sucks. Like, that really sucks. And then the other one, I'm sure that's accurate representation, and that makes me so sad. I'm like, wow, that really sucks. And then the other sister is a little more adventurous and does the deep sea diving, which is sad in the book because it goes badly for her. And I was very sad. Spoilers. Yes, it does go badly for her, and she does not make it back from her deep sea dive. And that sort of kicks off the events that has changed this novel over from sci-fi to horror. But I loved both of those characters. I loved all three of the sisters, actually, because they have an older sister with them as well. I liked so many characters in this book. So we have them. We have autistic representation with Olivia, which I liked, and from reading other stuff by autistic people and other stuff by neurodivergent people in general, rang really true. Like, I've got ADHD, they've got some overlap, and so I was like, hey, same hat, a lot of the time to Olivia when she was like, this is how I need to navigate this situation. And I don't know, a lot of times they'll fall into the trap of like, hey, this autistic person is going to be Sheldon Cooper. But this one didn't, which is nice because it looks different for a lot of different people. There's a lot of different ways it can look. So she had really good coping mechanisms and that she used to work with the world. And she was very clear about, hey, my brain works differently in these ways. It doesn't mean I'm less smart. It just means you're going to have to rephrase this for me. How about you? What did you think when you encountered that character, or did you have any real thoughts about Olivia as a character, as reading?
I liked her. I wasn't able to tell if the autism was accurate or not, because unlike you, unfortunately, I should read more. I haven't had that many experiences in novels with accurately described autistic characters. It's mostly, like you said, like Sheldon, where they're kind of over the top in TV shows. So I wasn't sure, but I wasn't doubting it.
Really. Right. Yeah, it's kind of cool because Mira Grant, I'll refer to her like she refers to herself for this book to avoid confusion. But she says that she has OCD, but she also has self-tested really high on the autism spectrum. And so she hasn't gone to seek a formal diagnosis because, you know, doctor hoops. But she brings that experience to a lot of the characters she writes, and so they end up being a lot really relatable to the community, both on the Mira Grant side and the Shauna Maguire side, which I thought was cool.
Yeah.
Who was your favorite character, though? Because mine was definitely Olivia, but we've got some pretty strong contenders.
It was tough because I didn't really like the book all that much, but Tori was probably my favorite. I mean, she was in most of the first half, and the first half was better for me.
Gotcha. So did it start to decline when they found the mermaids, or when they got on the boat, or like where was the moment where you were like, maybe not?
It was like almost exactly halfway through, and I think they were on their way to the Mariana Trench, and I just started to drag, and the dialogue got cheesy, and there were too many people on the boat to keep track of. And
there were a lot of people.
There were a lot of people. She kept inserting all these like background snippets for each character, even in the middle of an action scene. It's like, just move it.
I know. I still remember there was like one of the characters ends up dissecting a sea creature, and while he's dissecting that sea creature, he has this little flashback about doing cross stitch, and I'm like, this is kind of relevant because needles, but also it's not. I don't know how I feel about this. Yeah. Like, on the one hand, I'm intrigued. It felt cheesy. The whole thing felt cheesy, which is why I think I actually jumped on board in the second half and was struggling in the first. So we had opposite reactions. The first half I was sitting there and I'm like, okay, I get it. We're angry about the lost ship. We're laying out the ground. We're getting the people together for the expedition. I don't see how these people connect together yet, but okay. And then they got on the boat and it was suddenly like, look, we have a whole bunch of people who are going to do crazy, cheesy sci-fi horror movie dialogue at you. And I'm like, yes, excellent. Please say obvious things while running away from stupid dangers, all as much as you want. I am here for this because they did. They took stupid risks, and then they would like be running away at the deck from the mermaid, like thinking about, you know, something, lab work, like their lives, something, not even like life flashing before your eyes, just grilled cheese. It's great. Yeah. And then I'm just sitting there like, amazing, grilled cheese is great, eating my popcorn.
I can definitely see why it's enjoyable for you. Mm-hmm. I'm the type of reader that likes more realistic, even if it's fantasy or sci-fi, I really want to be able to believe that it could happen. And this one, I was like, no, this is not.
Do you normally connect with books really strongly because of like relatable characters kind of thing, or like the detailed world building?
Both. The detailed world building, like, have you read Brandon Sanderson?
I have, yeah. Mistborn. I've read Mistborn. I loved Mistborn. That is like such detailed world building.
It's very, very detailed, and I could totally believe that world exists. The people are so real, even though there's magic in it. It's like, oh yeah, I'm down for that. This one was like, no.
I like it. This one did not do that. Like, I love the sciencey speech. I love the research. This one did not build a world. This one was just like, here you go.
Even though it had all the science, which was definitely reputable, like she did a lot of research. Mm-hmm. It just, I don't know, it fell flat because of the dialogue, the silliness of it all, the plot holes. That was a big
thing. That was a thing. The ending. We'll get back to the ending. Oh boy, that ending. I'm with you on the ending. But yeah, I think that's very valid. Like, if you like the really detailed fantasy, or like the careful world building where you're actually immersed, like, I don't think I even found out about the upper deck of the boat until the last quarter of the book. And I'm like, we never saw the whole boat. I have no idea what this boat looks like. I just know there's mermaids on it. So, yeah, that's definitely an element, because I also like Brandon Sanderson, but I think I came into this one expecting something a little more off the cuff. So I wasn't disappointed by it not doing that careful world building, because sometimes, yeah, just popcorn book, light, fluffy, eat it fast.
If it had been cut in half, it could have done a lot better. I mean, for me.
I'm kind of curious to read the novella, actually, and to see how that measures up in terms of pacing and how that sort of balances it out, because you said before that when you were reading the book, you were really interested in the fate of the first ship, the Atargatis, named after the first mermaid, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I'd be curious to see, like, if it's a novella, it's going to be shorter. So how does that measure up as far as things go to this longer book?
Developing the story and the characters, I was interested in it, and then it just got really rushed. It was rushed yet draggy at the same time.
Yeah, that is fair. I just latched onto the rushed and cheesy, and I was like, I'm here for rushed and cheesy. The first half, even though they were doing that careful world building, was a little too dense and slow for me, because I am a slacker. So that is hopefully useful to viewers viewing this. You know where you fall on the slacker scale and the scale of careful world building. So this can be something that influences your choice whether to read it or not. Do we want to talk about the ending with huge spoiler wavy hands?
Yes.
Okay, so I liked the book. I liked the book very much. There were too many characters, but that's okay. Like, I was like, we don't need to know what's happening in Lewis's head. I don't need to be in Lewis's head. Can we stick to like 5? Just 5, maybe 4, but no, we were going to do 8 dozen. But that ending, though, like, I was still okay with all of it. And then we get to the ending and I'm like, are you serious? Are you for real right now? Because that ending,
it was very contrived, very coincidental. Like, oh, that worked out for you. Didn't match up with anything in the previous chapters. So one of our main characters falls into the water, surrounded by mermaids, does not get attacked, makes it back onto the ship with this massive discovery of what they actually are trying to do.
Makes it back onto the ship by like swimming through a tiny vent on the bottom. And I'm like, no, it's dark down there. What are you even trying to do?
Yeah, that was very confusing.
Yeah, and then she survives. So you spend the whole book telling me that the mermaids are killing machines, like honed to kill and honed to take care of this. And then you have somebody fall in the water and you're like, and she was fine. And I'm like, no, you don't get, no.
Yeah.
You spent so many pages telling me that that's not how this game works. Yeah.
And the discovery was not really explained. I mean, a little bit. It was like, here's the answer at the end. Even though her whole book had been full of detailed explanations on every little thing, we finally get the answer and there's nothing.
I know. It was tricky as far as that goes. Like, it wasn't even a question that I was specifically asking, to be fair. Like, I thought it had already been answered by the time we get there. The big question that's haunting everyone is what happened to the Atargatis. And like, I had taken it on, like, just on face value that yes, deadly killer mermaids happened to the Atargatis. Glad we had this talk. And they're like, no, but why were the killer mermaids so deadly? Here, we're going to do a last minute reveal and just drop it right there so you can think about it, and then we're going to run away really fast. And I'm like, no, hang on, no, this was a moment, and I wasn't sure like if it was a sequel hook or what, like if it was setting up for a sequel, because the book did feel done on its own kind of thing. Like, I don't know how a sequel would happen in that world.
It does say on Goodreads that it's, I forget what the series is called, but it's number 1
in the series. I clicked that link, and the reason it's 1 is because the one before it is 0.5, the novella. So that doesn't necessarily mean there could be more. It does mean there could be. And I didn't take the time to go look and be like, Mira Grant, are you writing more? Because I was like, I don't know. That ending, though, that ending hurt. And I don't know. I don't know if I'm ready to re-enter that world. Also, still spoiler, what's with the captive mermaid?
Oh, yeah, they didn't do anything about that.
Okay, so the captive, there's a mermaid at one point that they capture. Remember, deadly killer mermaids. And they've been working with the idea of mermaid sentience this whole time, potential mermaid sentience. So at this stage, the mermaid is in the tank and tells the other mermaids to spare those scientists because they are sentient, presumably. I'm like, if people had me in a cage, I feel like I would want to get out of the cage. But that never comes up again. Like, the mermaid does not fight to get out of the cage, does not ask the other mermaids to help her out. Like, well, him. That is another element of the book, is that for some reason a scientist is baffled by the idea that mermaid sexes don't work the same as human sexes, which, why?
They have to all be female because they're called mermaids.
Yes, they can't be male. They're called mermaids. I'm like, they're fish. They are fish, my dude. They are amphibians. Like, I don't know what you expected. They don't work in a human way. That was the one bit where I was like, I know this dude is supposed to suck, but I cannot believe a scientist taking this stance. Are you serious? Like, I know I'm not supposed to like this character, but also, how is he so stupid and still on this boat? But it's so bizarre. Like, no murder happened. I'm like, why is there no murder? I'm glad there's no murder. Congratulations on no murder. Why have you successfully recruited this mermaid to your side when you have him in a tank? So
I think because they were able to communicate their names to each other via sign language, and then the mermaid is all on board with liking them. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't get that. I don't get that. Okay.
I get for him to say, hey, don't kill her, I like her, but hey, help me out of this cage.
Also, I probably would have been like, don't kill her, but you can kill him. It's probably like, because there was one of them who was interested in keeping that cage going. And I know that there was like not that much discussion happening. Like, the mermaid can't understand human speech, still working on it. But like, you can tell one of them's talking to you, one of them isn't. And so I don't know.
Maybe I missed it. Did they ever let that mermaid out?
They brought it back to Disneyland to be studied.
They did not really explain that either.
They did not release it. They do have like an end scene, like one of those like stinger trailer things where like they're bringing in I was mentally thinking of it as a movie the whole time, by the way, which is probably another factor, is I'm like, I'm watching a Marvel movie. I'm watching Sci-Fi Channel original series. So at the end of the movie/book, they show the mermaid being dropped off at Disney with like the ominous background music and the guy there going, we're going to study this. We're going to all be very rich, like hand cackling, rubbing the hands together. And like Haley, I believe, the sister who was talking to the mermaid, is very upset that the mermaid is going to be delivered to Imagine. So is the scientist. Tori? Was that it? Not Tori. Oh. Not Tori. The Jillian, Dr. Jillian, was not happy with it. But her ex-husband is on board. The dolphin speaking guy is on board, and so they are both hired by Imagine. And then it's weird, right? It got sandwiched right after the big reveal of why mermaids, and so it may have been at that point you were still looking for that answer and not. But yeah, that was why I was wondering about a sequel hook, is because they just leave that there and they're like, ominous music, and I'm like, maybe, but also like, what are we doing here with this concept? And then the last, like, here's what happened to the characters, wasn't even a thing. It was like a paragraph, 2 sentences. And I'm like, I want to know if they're okay. But yeah. So
very rushed.
A little rushed. So it fits the genre themes, though, for our dark fantasy. It's got murder sirens. It's got horror. It's got lots of gore, lots of blood. All sorts of things going on there. So please do not give it to your teenager. Do not do the thing.
No, I wouldn't.
If we could pick one way this book would be better, would it be the ending that we'd end up changing, do you think?
Yeah, if I had to pick one thing.
If I had to pick one thing, I think probably I'd go with the ending. I just want to know, like, what happened? Please. No, even if I had to choose one specific thing from the ending, I would be okay with not knowing why mermaids if it didn't have that contrived way to find out why mermaids. Like, if I have to choose one thing, do not throw your character in the pool of murder mermaids and then not kill the character. This is my criticism.
Yeah, she should have died.
She should have died. Like, I liked the character. She should have died.
It would have been cool if she found out the secret and then died without telling anyone.
That would, if we're setting up a sequel, that's a good way to go. Like, come on, that would be interesting. Or like gets out the garbled message, something.
Ah! Yeah.
Ah! Yeah, that
Yeah.
would be fun. Do we have anything else before we want to go?
I don't think so.
Not really. So in summary, if you like cheesy horror and cheesy sci-fi, go for it. If you like logical or good world building sci-fi, perhaps avoid. Does that sound fair?
Yes.
Okay, there's your summary. There's our review of Mira Grant, Into the Drowning Deep. Next month, New Reader's Corner. It's going to be Canto Volume 1, If I Only Had a Heart, by David Booher, I believe, and that's going to be a graphic novel. I think it's a middle grade graphic novel even. So completely friendly, fun for the whole family. Be sure to tune in. It should be good. I'm curious about it.
Yeah, a twist on Wizard of Oz.
Which is way cool, because I love retellings, obviously, because we're here for the mermaids. So.
All right.
Thank you all so much for tuning in, and we will see you next time. Bye, everybody.